Hey everybody, welcome back. Another Gravity Ace dev stream. I gotta start doing devlogs again. This whole stream thing, it's fine. I like it. I like doing it. Like I said before, it keeps me honest. But I also like I don't know. There's something about producing something more focused. Anyway, back to the coin problem. So last time I worked on part of my problem with the coins in the game is they were hard to spot, and people felt they were could be a little unfair sometimes. So the first thing I did Monday was fix it so that coins don't spawn inside of walls. Today I'm going to do this making coins easier to spot. But first, and that's going to be a little art update, little pixel art update. But first, I wanted to try and upgrade Godot. There was a new version of Godot out today, version 3.2.3. There it is. I went and installed it, but I haven't opened my project yet. Let me make sure I've got everything committed into source control first before I update it. I don't think it's going to make any changes to the project, but just in case. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, so I've got this one thing, but it's a whole new scene, so it doesn't matter. Yeah, so just open it. Should be fine. There were a couple of changes, I think, that might affect me. Oh, look, there's already an error. What is this? What the heck is that? This could be because I have it running as a tool script or something. Line 47. Yeah, see, it's running as a tool script. But I'll bet game.gd is not. Yeah, it's not. So this doesn't need to run as a tool script. So I'm just going to turn that off. I must have done it that way so I could just prototype it, I guess, in the editor. Hey, Fox Shadow. I've heard that. a couple of times. It's all the microphone. It's this magic microphone right here. All right, let's look at this changelog. So there were some documentation fixes, blah, blah, blah. That doesn't affect me. Missing error strings doesn't sound like it affects me. Spatials 3D. I don't care about that. No, no, no. I do use this, but I think this is a documentation change. Warnings I don't care about. Thanks, Patrick. I don't think. So this is 3D, OpenGL. That's fine. HTML5, don't care. Looks like a bunch of network stuff. I don't care. Don't care. Ooh, this guy's been busy. 70 commits. Looks like he did a bunch of mobile stuff, performance updates, documentation, threading, HTML5. Yeah, it's fine. None of that's for me. Here's our C# guy. I don't use C#, so I don't care. Fix accidental duplication of Polygon 2D start point. That's interesting. That might affect me. I don't think I've seen this bug though, so I don't think I've put in any workarounds for it, so it shouldn't cause me any problems. I'm skimming now. This is why updating is risky, because there's no way I'm going to go through all of these things to see if they affect my project. I probably shouldn't have upgraded, but let's just play it. Let's just play it and see what happens. Looking good so far. Let's do this level. Didn't time that very well. So the shooting feels exactly the same. Shield behavior seems exactly the same. All my levels look exactly the same. Physics feels the same. My collisions seem like they're working fine. I know they've made one change in bullet physics with respect to how what do you call it, damping works, but that doesn't seem to be affecting me at all. So watch this. The one thing I did change last time, remember I was working on how the coins spawn into the game, and they don't spawn inside walls now. See that? just shoots out away from the wall, which is cool. And they'll even collide with walls up to a point until the player's in range, and then they'll do whatever they want to do. Alright, that seems to all be working fine. Let me open up my test level. We can see. I can show you the coin thing. So I'll blast this guy. I'll be out of range here. Blast him. See how the coins bounced off that wall? And none of them are inside. But now they go through the wall when I'm in range. Makes them easy to get. Yeah. Alright. I mean, it seems like a successful upgrade. No big deal. Pretty painless. That's good news. So the second thing I wanted to do with those things is make them a little easier to see. And I don't even know if I want them to still be coins. But let's see. Let's look at the animation I've got going for this thing and see what happens. 8 frames. Right? So to make them a little visually easier to see, I would put a white outline around them. And hopefully, I think that there's a filter for that in Aseprite. Interesting. I think there might be even a... Yeah, Shift O. If I do Shift O, and you can tell it where you want it to outline and how much. Interesting. That's like too much. Although that makes it flash. Do I want them to flash? I don't think so. Let's just outline them and see what happens. See how they look. So 1. Turn off the onion skin. 2. Might go back and make these thicker, or I might change the color, or I might undo it entirely after I see it in the game, because I might not like it. But I do know I need to make them more visible in some way. Could make them bigger. I could change their color. I don't know. Maybe I don't need to do anything with this, in fact, because now that they're not inside the walls anymore, they don't overlap anything except dark space. So I may not need to do anything. Let's just see how they look. Yeah, see, I don't like that. They definitely seem more visible, but I don't know, they look like food now. They look like donuts. Yeah, I don't like that at all. Alright, undo. It's like a time lapse in reverse. What if I did something like this? See that. Ugh. Gross. No, that's gross. Do I need to do anything? With them not overlapping the walls of the cave, they seem pretty visible to me. They were only harder to see before when they were like this. Why can't I grab you? Alright, there's a bug. Something about those guys, I can't grab them. But, like, so it's like there, right? I mean, that's harder to see because it blends in more with these other yellow things. But out here it's actually fine. I'm just going to cross that one off, come back to it. Where's my to-do? I'm not going to do that right now. Let's see if we can fix that bug. Why can't I pick these things? I think I know why. I think it's because... pick up. I think it's because I need to make this thing in the... here. That group. This is a special physics layer that I use for picking things in the editor when they don't have a natural group that they belong to. So this is my player group, this is bullets, this is enemy bullets, enemies, you know, the world, there's structures, debris, friends of the player, right? And then a bunch of layers I don't use, right? So this is just a special one, and I put it over here in the corner just so I could remember where it is. Like the player is always here. This is a GUI layer. So this is for objects that don't have a natural layer. So this layer doesn't collide with anything else in the game. It's only used in the editor, and it's for picking things so that the cursor can bump into it when I'm making selections. So that should fix that bug. Yeah. Okay. Easy peasy. What else have I got? God, so much stuff still. Been doing some pricing research lately. It's a tough one, pricing. Seems like there's, for indie games, there's a sweet spot somewhere between $10 and $20. And then on the Steam store, it seems like you can charge a little bit more than on itch. I'm not sure why that is. I have a feeling it's something, there's some kind of psychology where people who post things on itch, I mean, there's a lower barrier to entry for one. You don't have to pony up $100 to get in. And you get the feeling itch caters more towards more experimental type games and game jams and that sort of stuff. Maybe smaller games. I'm not saying anything about quality, but there's a perception, I think, with itch that it's simpler games maybe. Anyway, for whatever reason, the price point's lower. It seems lower on itch than on Steam. But I don't want to have two different prices. I'm not even sure I can have two different prices if I'm on Steam. That might be against their user agreement. I'm not sure. But there's definitely a sweet spot between $10 and $20. There are some indie games that charge more. But I think that's tougher to do. And there are obviously a lot of games that charge less, but I think once you get below $10, you start getting into a territory where people start thinking, why are you charging so little for your game? It must not be very good. Whether that's true or not, I think there's a perception of low price equaling low quality as well. I don't know. It's kind of tough because it's intimidating to try and put a price on something that you made. There's always going to be people who say, "Oh, it's too much." But I mean, $10 is less than it costs to buy lunch most places. What are you gonna do? Got to price it at something. Let's look at this one. I got a not complaint, but an observation maybe, I guess it was a complaint. Some people were saying the crates feel too heavy. And I get it, but I think part of that perception might be, you have to take your criticism with a grain of salt. Like, it kind of does depend on who's giving the criticism. Not that makes the criticism invalid, but it makes it maybe less important to you. Like, if someone's criticizing your game and all they play is first-person shooters and they don't like your game, and your game isn't a first-person shooter, maybe this game just isn't for them. And in this case, I'm not sure. It could be that the person playing it just wasn't... Maybe they just hadn't spent enough time with the game to really get good... to get good at the controls, Because there is definitely a barrier here, a learning curve. And I find that, the more you play, the better you get at flying the ship. And the better you are at flying the ship, the less those types of complaints you have. Oh, let me turn gravity on. Gravity. Let's do our standard gravity of 50. Try that again. Let's delete this guy. Delete our stray thing there. Get rid of this. Alright. Whose criticism I found most valuable? There's this one guy. He's making a game. It's called Flock of Dogs. He's actually been really great. Also Patrick of Patrick's Parabox, the award-winning Patrick's Parabox, had some great comments. I don't know, is it too heavy or not? It doesn't feel very heavy to me. What happens if I make it lighter? Cargo box, mass 2. could make it mass 0.5, which would be 4 times lighter. Hey, Aaron. Welcome. We're tweaking cargo box weights. Yeah, it's possibly as boring as that sounds. I mean, that's much lighter. So, but here's the problem, right? It's too light. See how it swings around too much? It's like, it makes it hard to manipulate. Right? You don't want the thing flying around like that, I don't think. That would cause a different complaint. That the boxes are too, I don't know, too wild or floaty or something. They don't, you know, momentum affects them too much. And you want them to kind of hang down below the ship because, see that? That's crazy. Usually there's going to be some gravity below you, right? And you need to drop them on something, but it's hard to do if they're like flying away from you like this, right? What if, I wonder if there's some way I do have a custom integrator here. So integrate forces is a custom physics function, and I'm clamping their velocity to some, it's like a terminal velocity value, so that if you drop these things, they won't fall faster than the ship can move, so you can go catch it. That's the only thing custom I'm doing in here. But I could add some kind of custom code that says, you know, like if the player is beaming me, then, you know, try to get underneath the player. So it would be like simulating being heavier without actually being heavier. It'd be a cheat, right? I could increase the mass, but that was the original complaint, was that the things are too heavy. And they're obviously only too heavy when you're trying to carry it. So to solve this particular complaint, you would have to make it heavier, or you'd have to make it lighter, but still make it behave like it's heavy. But I don't know. I'm just not... I don't think it's that heavy. Maybe this is one of those things I just need to trust myself and see if other people complain about it. You know, if a lot of people end up complaining about these things, then there maybe is something wrong. See, that is heavy. I mean, I made it 3 now instead of 2. But see how it stays under the ship, and then it's harder to swing it around wildly? It kind of, because it has some inertia, right? And so it tends to just want to not move, which makes it easier to control, but you have to use more fuel to control it. But those kind of maneuvers are a lot easier when it's heavier. Whereas when it's lighter, just lifting it off like that will make it fly all around the ship, and it's hard to do that, right? You're trying to be a crane, but it is heavier. So to do that, I would have to do something like that, make it really light, but then under here I would want to say try to move towards a position where you're below the player, but in a natural way that feels like gravity, but isn't gravity. Oh, you know what maybe I could do? Maybe I can apply a force equal to my weight upwards on the player. That would negate my weight, right? While I'm being beamed. Let's see. I've got it attached to player. So this gets called when the beam activates, and this gets called when the beam deactivates. So I know when I'm attached to the player. So I can say if attached to player and the game has a player, then what? Then game.player.apply as rigid body 2D, I think. That's not working. How come it doesn't know what game.player is? This is why using a language without static types is sometimes a pain. I do wish I had static types sometimes. Most of the time I don't, but times like this I kind of do wish I did. Can I fix it right here? God, I hope that doesn't break the whole rest of my game. Yeah, I can't. I can't, because it's just a weak ref. There's a whole thing I'm doing here where this function basically makes what's called a weak reference to the player, which is it's a reference to the player, like a pointer, right? But in a way that it doesn't count as a reference to the internal memory allocation system. So if there's nothing holding a reference to this except weak references, then the engine will deallocate the memory anyway, because weak references don't count. And then there's functions for checking, does the weak reference actually resolve to an actual object that's still in memory or not? Yes or no? Anyway, I can't do this because it's not always a rigid body 2D. Sometimes it's actually a weak reference to a rigid body 2D, and sometimes it's a null even. That's okay. I can just look up what the function method is. I think it's apply force. No? Let's look up rigid body 2D. Methods. Add force. That's what I want. It's satisfying, right? Just deleting my mistakes. Once you add a force, here's another thing. The documentation is generally really great. But I would love to know, if I apply a force, if I add this force, how do I unadd it? Or will this be on there forever until the end of the game? How do I negate it? Or is this something I need to keep adding each frame? And then, oh God, this is a mess. Could apply an impulse. I know that only happens once a frame. time independent. Applying an impulse every frame will result in a frame rate independent force. It should only be used when simulating one-time impacts, so I shouldn't use this. And this seems like you'd only do it once. Just wants a vector. So I would do, yeah, so you can, right? That's what I'm thinking, right? I can add a force now and then add a negative force when I'm not beaming it, right? But then what if I create a second, thingy in the game that also adds a force to the ship? How do I know? How do I keep those two forces from interfering with each other? How would I remove one and not the other? I don't know. It seems complicated. I don't have anything like that, but I'm trying to think about my future sanity because I'm going to forget about this line of code in about 10 minutes. And then I'm going to do some other stuff. And it's going to cause weird bugs later. So this would be negative. I don't even know what this force is expressed in. Let's just trust the engine here that this all makes sense. So the engine is saying its weight is 4.9, or its mass is 0.5, right? Gravity is 50. So the force should be negative 25. And I'm just going to put in a magic number for now. We can fix it later, but I don't think this is going to work. Because I think it's going to want to add this central force every frame, and the ship is just going to take off through the roof. Let's see what happens. It'll be fun to watch anyway. Ought to be fun to watch. Let's see. This will be a glorious bug. Maybe we'll be treated to a wonderful explosion as I collide into this wall up here. Yeah, that's not what we want. Okay. Have to be more clever than that. Maybe I want this code to be in the ship. If the ship is holding a crate, then I want the ship to do something different. And maybe the crate shouldn't be the one where the code is. Maybe the code should be in the ship. I don't know, man. All this has a bad smell to me. What if I got the vector from the box to the player, and if it wasn't straight down, then I could apply a force to the box to get it more straight down. So I would want to get 2-player equals game.player.position minus position, right? My position. Game.player.position minus my position. That'll end up giving you a vector from the player to the box, I think. So I want the other way around. If I have the ship and I have the box, and then take the box position, subtract this, and I'll end up with a vector Yeah, I think I had it right the first time. We'll see. Oh, thanks, Aaron. Yeah, this is a publicly available plugin. In case you want to make your eyes bleed like mine. Let's just print that out and see what it is. Yeah, I know what you mean. I'm about to join a game jam on Friday. It's a week long. So I'm expecting I'll be up until 2 a.m. all next week. We'll see. And for my day job, I have a meeting, a pretty regular meeting with this development team in Belarus. And so we have meetings at midnight. It's going to be fun. Oh yeah, Vim Jam. Vim Jam's the jam. Starts Friday. Tomorrow. And there's close to 2,000 people in it. It's going to be a big one. Okay, so as soon as I start beaming this, I'm expecting I'll see a a positive y coordinate on this vector. Yeah, it's negative. So see, I got it backwards. I had it right the second time. Oh, wait. But y is, positive y is down. So I had it right the first time. Good Lord. Yeah, man, game jams are tough. Game jams are definitely a different breed of performance art. I haven't done a jam in a while. I was doing Ludum Dare for a while. I did a bunch of them. And I did the Compo, which is a 2-day jam. 48 hours, you have to do it all by yourself. And I think the last one I did the jam, which gives you an extra day. But even that, it's just not enough time. I'm way too fussy or I'm way too slow. It's probably both. I'm just too slow to do a 2-day jam. And I'm too much of a perfectionist. I tend to fiddle with the wrong things, you know? It just takes me longer than 2 days to come up with something. It's the wrong format for me. But Vim Jam, it's a week. And I'd started game development by doing 1 game a month. I don't know if any of you guys remember that, but that was years ago. And 1 game a month is kind of what got me into this hobby in the first place. And that was great. It was a nice format. It was a month, which worked perfectly with my procrastination. And I could just put things off until the middle of the month and still have 2 weeks to do it. And I'd still run into time pressure towards the end. You know, it was a little bit of crunch there the last couple days, but nothing like a 2-day Ludum Dare jam. So, and I've done a week-long jam before. I did the 7-day roguelike one time, and it was nice because I got to actually make some decent looking art. I got to finish the game, you know, I got to put in some polish on it, but without spending, you know, without hurting myself physically, mentally. All right, I'll figure out this sign thing later. So I've got a vector to the player. I want to figure out what this angle is. This vector 8, 100 means it's pointing down and a little bit to the right. Right, which is perfect. So that angle I would expect to be, well, let's just see what it is. Let's just see what it is. And I think that's going to be radians. Let's do that. Actually, well, let's just see. Let's print the vector as well. So this will print the vector and the angle. Prints is a neat function. It works just like print, except it takes multiple arguments and it'll just print them all one after another on the same line. Right? So it's pointing down. It's 84 degrees. Does print do that too? Print doesn't do that. It does do that. Well, then what the heck is print S for? Oh, it adds a space. See, it adds a space. And then there's print T, which adds a tab. Little convenience functions. So see that space? That's what the S gives you. I knew there was a reason I used it. All right, so it's pointed down. It's 84 degrees. So if my angle, I think, is anywhere between 45 and 135, then I don't want to do anything. It's down. Or actually, in fact, if it's anywhere between 0 degrees and 180, I think I probably am fine. Let's see if I can get that to swing out that way. So that's close to 0, right? 1 degree. And I'll go the other way. This should be close to 270, right there. Right, it's heading up there. It's getting up there. Or 180, I mean, 180. It's getting up there to close to 180. So if I keep the angle, I want to keep that angle between 0 and 180. Oh, yeah, I've seen that pottery class one. That pottery class story is great. Yeah, if I mean, it makes sense too, right? The pottery class study was, you know, a class of students divided in half. One half made one pot in the semester, and the other half made as many pots as they could make in the semester. And then they were graded on the last pot they made. So, and then they found that the students that did lots of pots, their final pot was way better than the other pot that the other students spent the whole time on. Maybe it's unintuitive, but it makes sense to me. It just comes down to practice, right? The more you practice at something, the better you get at it. And it's important to finish things. You can't just, you have to go through the whole process. The people who only made one pot, they practiced the beginning once, and they practiced the finishing once. The other group practiced starting and finishing over and over again. So of course they got better at it. I like that study too. All right. So if So I want this angle. Right? If angle to player is less than 0, or angle to player is greater than 180, then do something, right? And I know that there's probably something I can do in here with dot product to make this faster or whatever. Play her. Right? Like you can do a dot product with the down vector, and if it's positive, then it's pointing the same direction. If it's negative, it's the other side. Something like that. I can never remember the rule though, but I can remember this. This is how I write the code. Maybe in my next project, I'll force myself to do nothing but vector math, so that it finally goes in. So if this is true, then that means the box is somewhere up here, right, above the ship. And if it's up there somewhere above the ship, then I want to make it below the ship. And if it's less than 0, it's over on this side. And if it's greater than 180, it's over on this side somewhere. Right? Less than 0, greater than 180. So I can, in either case though, I can just apply a force down and it should swing back around down. Unless it's straight up, and then it'll mess things up. It's like I want to apply a torque to the beam, one direction or another. I don't know, this is starting to get a smell too. Let's see if this print's too high when the thing gets above me. Right, so there it is, it's above me. There it is, too high, right? And then when it gets down below me, like that, it should stop printing it and clear that. Right, so it shouldn't be printing anything right now. It's not. But now it is. Yeah, see? So then I could do something like, if the angle is less than 0 and angle player is greater than 90, or greater than, let's say 45, then apply central impulse, vector 2, just down, right, like something, and negative 45. If angle of player is greater than 180 and angle of player is less than 135, no, 225. So if it's somewhere over there, push it down. If it's somewhere over here, push it down. Let's see how it looks. Whoa. Whamp. I mean, it works. Oh, it worked on one side. Whoa. Too much. Too much. How come it's not working on the left side? Something about the angle. Huh. Oh, I see. When it went to 180, it went negative again. Looks like all the angles above the line are negative. Yeah, so let's do, if it's less than, if it's greater than, no, if it's less than 0 and the angle is greater than negative 35, right? I can combine these into one later. Let's just see what happens. Let's turn this down because I think that's too much. Yeah, so I don't like this. Bam. It just so unnatural. Plus, it's having side effects where it's actually pushing the ship, and that's gonna be tricky to figure out because they're connected, right? So however this box moves, it's gonna move the ship as well. And yeah, I just can't have things like that happening that are unpredictable and affecting the player. So I don't think I want any of this. I think I'm just gonna undo this. I had it at 2 before. Let's try 1.5 and just see how it feels. What if I change the weight at those angles instead? Oh, interesting. That would be interesting, actually. It would just sort of get heavier. Well, so... I don't think that's going to have the effect that I want because the object is already going to have some velocity. It's going to be swinging up, right? And then I'm going to change the weight. It's not going to, I don't think that'll change its speed. It's going to keep swinging. When you change the mass, it's just going to instantly have more momentum now. So it'll actually make it harder to control. I would be surprised if increasing the mass while it was swinging slowed it down. Let's see. Mass equals 2. Let's see. Well, and I don't want to do gravity scale either, because that looks unnatural, because if you change the gravity scale, then what happens is boxes will fall slower than everything else in the game. And it's visible that they don't have the same gravity as everything else, which is just kind of jarring and weird. So it's going up, it's going up, going up. Maybe. It was very subtle. It's hard to tell what happened. Yeah, so see, it didn't change the velocity at all. So once you've lost control of it by swinging, even though the weight changes, it's not going to help you get control of it again. I don't know. I'll have to think about that. But I don't think this is working, and I think I'm actually okay with it being difficult to control. Because I'm not even sure if it actually is difficult to control, or if they are too heavy. We'll see. Maybe something will come to me while I'm in the shower. All right. did that. I removed that tool thing. And this is going to change just because, yeah, something, I don't know what was going on there, but I didn't actually change that. Oh no, I did change that. That was this. That was this. Yeah. And I ended up not changing the sprite. This is noise. This is a new scene I'm working on. Hey, Spherus and friends. You guys are just in time for me to hang up, actually. I'm sorry. I was just about to end the stream. I have another thing I need to go to. But thank you. Thank you for dropping in. Yeah, who should we raid? I've never done this before. Oh, it's been such a long day. Just a crazy long day.
The world can be a dangerous place. Victory sometimes requires a different kind of soldier. The Army National Guard is searching for the best of the best to serve within the Special Forces community.
Noisy. That was noisy. Yeah, I know. You guys know Jitspo? He doesn't need it, but he's working on a Godot game called Fist of the Forgotten. Let's go there. You guys are in for it. And so, yeah, before we go, you guys are great. Thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for everybody for dropping in. I'm going to stream again Saturday, probably around noonish Pacific. So drop back in. And yeah, we'll see you guys later. Let's go see Jitspo.